We all know how to forgive others. But what about the hardest person of all, ourselves? What if true healing begins not in letting go of others, but in finally letting go of your own guilt? There comes a moment in every life when the weight of guilt becomes too heavy to carry. It doesn't matter how far you've come, how much you've learned, or how many people you've helped. Deep inside, there may still be a quiet voice that whispers, "You should have known better. You should have done more." That voice doesn't speak truth, it echoes pain. And it is in that pain where the journey towards self-forgiveness begins. Louise Hay once said, "You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." Those words carry a wisdom so simple that the mind almost dismisses them. But if you've ever tried to forgive yourself, you know how difficult it can be. We are taught to be kind to others, to offer compassion and understanding. But when it comes to ourselves, we often withhold the very love we most need. Forgiving yourself isn't about erasing the past. It's about releasing the emotional hold it has over you. It's about seeing that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. You may look back and see moments of failure, words you wish you hadn't said, choices that broke something precious. But what if, instead of judgment, you could meet those moments with tenderness? What if you could whisper to your younger self, "You were learning. You were growing. You were trying to love the best way you knew how." Because that's the truth. You didn't fail, you evolved. And the pain that once defined you can now become your greatest teacher. Self-forgiveness is a process of coming home. It's peeling away the layers of shame that have wrapped around your heart, until you can breathe again, until you can look at yourself not through the lens of what went wrong, but through the eyes of compassion. It requires honesty, yes, but not the kind of honesty that punishes, the kind that liberates. Louise Hay taught that guilt is one of the most useless emotions because it keeps you stuck in the past. You cannot heal while holding yourself hostage to something that no longer exists. You can acknowledge what happened, you can make amends if you need to, but then you must let go. And that letting go is an act of courage. Most people think forgiveness is about others, but the deepest forgiveness is the one you offer yourself. Because how can you truly love, trust, or open if you still believe that you are unworthy? Every time you say, "I should have known better," you are comparing your past self to your present awareness. It's an unfair comparison. You didn't know then what you know now. And that's okay. You grew through those experiences. You gained wisdom, empathy, depth. Those mistakes, if you want to call them that, were part of your unfolding. So maybe it's time to stop punishing yourself for being human. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of one memory that still makes your heart ache. Something you wish you could undo. Don't run from it, breathe into it. See yourself in that moment with all your imperfections and fear. And say softly, "I forgive you. You did the best you could. I now release this pain." You may not feel a wave of relief immediately. Sometimes, forgiveness doesn't come as a thunderclap, but as a quiet surrender. Like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. This is how healing begins. One gentle release at a time. The mind often clings to guilt because it feels like control. If I keep punishing myself, it thinks, maybe I can make sure it never happens again. But guilt doesn't prevent mistakes. It perpetuates suffering. It's not protection. It's self-imprisonment. Louise Hay would remind us that the subconscious mind listens to everything we say. Every self-criticism, every harsh word, every time you call yourself stupid or unworthy, the body hears it. The cells respond. The heart contracts. So what would happen if instead of guilt you began to feed yourself compassion? If instead of saying, "I can't believe I did that." You said, "I understand why I did that, and I choose differently now." That simple shift in language is the beginning of freedom. Forgiveness does not mean pretending something didn't hurt. It means you refuse to let it define you. It means you stop carrying the past into every new moment. You cannot heal what you will not face, but you also cannot grow if you never release it. So much of healing, Louise taught, is about returning to self-love. Because when you love yourself, guilt dissolves naturally. Love says, "I see your pain and I still choose you." Love says, "You are worthy of peace." And that is what self-forgiveness truly is. A return to love. We live in a culture that glorifies perfection. We measure ourselves against impossible standards. But perfection is not the goal of life, growth is. And growth is messy. It comes through mistakes, through failures, through learning the hard way. To forgive yourself is to accept your humanity. It is to say, "Yes, I've stumbled. Yes, I've hurt and been hurt. But I'm still willing to love myself through it all." That willingness is everything. Because healing does not come from condemning what was, but from embracing what is. If you could see your journey from a higher perspective, you would realize that every painful chapter had a purpose. That the moments you regret were also moments of initiation. That the choices you question were the stepping stones to your awakening. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear. Not one misstep. Louise Hay believed that everything we experience is part of the divine unfolding, even the parts we wish we could erase. And when you begin to see life that way, forgiveness becomes natural, because you understand that it all served your evolution. Forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It means you are ready to stop reliving it. It means you choose peace over punishment. You may have been doing your best just to survive. You may have been acting from fear, from pain, from confusion. But you are here now, aware, healing, awakening. That alone is a miracle. You can thank the past for its lessons and release it with love. Because every time you forgive yourself, you return a piece of your power. I am willing to forgive myself. I release the need to hold on to guilt. I am free and I am safe. There is something sacred about finally laying down the armor you've worn for years. That invisible weight of blame, regret, and shame that you carried as if it were proof of your goodness. As if self-punishment could somehow redeem the past. But forgiveness is not earned through suffering. It blooms the moment you decide that pain has taught you enough. Close your eyes and breathe. With each inhale, imagine gathering every harsh word you've ever spoken to yourself. And with each exhale, let them go like smoke dissolving into the sky. You don't need them anymore. Louise Hay often reminded us that the body is a mirror of the mind. The tension in your shoulders, the heaviness in your chest, the tightness in your stomach, these are not random sensations. They are unspoken emotions, trapped memories waiting to be released. When you forgive yourself, you are not just healing your thoughts. You are freeing your body from the echo of the past. You are allowing the energy of life to move through you again. Try whispering to your body now. It's safe to relax. It's safe to let go. I love you. I forgive you. Notice how even a few words can shift something subtle inside. That's the language your subconscious understands. Kindness. For many of us, guilt began early. As children, we learned that love could be withdrawn when we made mistakes. That approval had to be earned. And so, we built an identity around being good, being perfect, being pleasing. But no child can stay perfect forever. Eventually, we failed, disappointed someone, broke a rule, and felt the sting of rejection. That pain lodged deep within, whispering, "You are not enough." Self-forgiveness is the process of rewriting that story. of telling your inner child, "You never had to be perfect to be loved." When you speak to yourself with gentleness, you are reparenting that wounded part. You are giving it what it always needed: safety, compassion, unconditional acceptance. And slowly that child learns to breathe again. Sometimes we fear that if we forgive ourselves, we'll lose motivation to change. But true transformation never comes from shame. It comes from awareness. Shame keeps you small. Love expands you. When you forgive, you are not saying, "What I did was fine." You are saying, "I am ready to learn and live differently." Forgiveness doesn't erase responsibility. It restores your power to act from love instead of fear. That is what Louise called mental housekeeping, clearing the clutter of old guilt so new thoughts can move in. Take a quiet moment and reflect. Where in your life are you still carrying blame? Is it a relationship that ended? A dream you didn't pursue? A moment when you spoke in anger or stayed silent in fear? Bring that memory to mind and imagine placing it gently into a river of light. The current carries it away, not to forget it, but to transform it. See the light softening the edges of that memory until it becomes wisdom. You no longer need to hold the pain to keep the lesson. The lesson has already become part of you. Louise Hay taught that our thoughts are affirmations, whether we realize it or not. Every time you repeat, "I'm such a failure," you are affirming failure. Every time you whisper, "I'm learning and growing," you are affirming healing. So begin to choose new affirmations consciously. They don't have to feel perfect, they just have to feel possible. Try saying, "I am willing to forgive myself and move forward in peace. I release the past and choose love in this moment. Every day, I am becoming more gentle with myself." Speak them often. Speak them especially when the old voice of criticism returns, because repetition is what rewires the mind. Forgiveness is not a single event. It's a practice. Some days it feels effortless, other days you may slip back into blame. That's okay. Healing is not linear. It's cyclical like the tides. Each time you return to compassion, you strengthen the muscle of self-love. Over time, you will notice a shift. Your inner dialogue will soften. Your reactions will slow. Your heart will begin to trust itself again. And one morning, you'll realize that the weight you carried for years has quietly dissolved. Louise used to say, "When I forgive myself, I free myself." And that freedom ripples outward. Because when you treat yourself with kindness, you naturally extend it to others. You become less reactive, more patient, more real. You stop demanding perfection, in yourself and in everyone else. That is how collective healing begins. One heart forgiving itself. Imagine what would happen if millions of people chose self-forgiveness over self-blame. Imagine the wars that would end, the walls that would crumble, the peace that would rise like dawn. It all starts inside you. If you ever doubt that you deserve forgiveness, remember this. Life is always offering you another chance. The sunrise itself is proof that yesterday is over. Right now, as you listen, the past is no longer happening. Only this breath is real. And in this breath, you are free to begin again. So breathe in compassion. Breathe out release. And feel how your body softens with every exhale. Maybe today forgiveness looks simple. It might be taking a walk instead of overthinking. It might be saying, "I'm allowed to rest." It might be letting yourself feel joy again without guilt. Healing doesn't need to be dramatic. Sometimes it's as gentle as sunlight through the curtains. A quiet reminder that life continues, and so do you. There's a powerful affirmation that Louise Hay shared often. "I am willing to release the need to be unworthy." Sit with that for a moment. Because the truth is, many of us cling to unworthiness without realizing it. It becomes familiar, almost safe. We mistake guilt for goodness, punishment for responsibility. But you were not born to carry shame. You were born to express love. And that love begins with you. When you forgive yourself, you create the conditions for miracles. Doors open. Health improves. Relationships heal. Because the universe responds to the energy of peace. Perhaps the most radical act of forgiveness is to thank the version of you who didn't know better. The one who struggled, who reacted, who tried and failed. Thank them for getting you here. Without them, you wouldn't have the wisdom you hold now. Whisper it gently. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for learning. I forgive you and I love you. This is not self-indulgence. Self-liberation. So let this be your reminder. You don't have to earn forgiveness. You just have to allow it. You are not your mistakes. You are the awareness growing beyond them. And that awareness is love. Louise Hay believed that love is the great healer. And forgiveness is how love returns to its rightful place in your heart. As you release the past, you make space for peace. As you forgive, you become whole. I forgive myself completely and lovingly. I let go of all guilt and open my heart to peace. I am free to move forward. And I trust that life loves me. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It's about freeing your heart to love again. Every time you choose compassion over guilt, you choose peace. You choose healing. You choose yourself. If this message touched you, take a deep breath and whisper, I am forgiven, I am free. Then share this video so others can remember the healing power of self-love. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more gentle reminders of your inner power.